are, happily so, on week 3 of the 4 parts of the first lessons in the science of mind, the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, and how to use it. So we are looking at what it does. So we're looking at the idea that God is all that is, and the way it works is through itself, through all of itself, and that includes us. So what it does, we are an outlet of the divine. Both Kathy's story and Frank's reading today were very much a part of how we have a choice or a power within us, the Spirit of the living God, to be that outlet of the divine instead of an outlet of our ego. So we are an outlet of our own, to the degree of our own mental receptivities. We are surrounded by and live in and as divine intelligence. And what we draw from this intelligence channels or moves through us, flows through us. And it flows through us through our own mind tapped into the one mind. As I was thinking about that, it came to me the idea that God might be called a know-it-all. And that, those words, know-it-all, kind of triggered some negativism in me. So I had to do a little bit of praying and moving around of some of my thoughts from an adult who had power in my life, calling me or telling me that I thought I was a know-it-all, but I was wrong. And now here I am saying God is a know-it-all. And wow, what an aha, what an awareness, an opening to realize, yeah, God absolutely is all the knowingness, all the intelligence, all the wisdom that life is. God is a know-it-all. So by gosh, I am awesomely glad that I was called a know-it-all. Although I know that I only know it all to the degree of my receptive mentalities. So we tap into that all-knowing mind. And again in this lesson, Ernest Holmes talks about the idea that we can only take that which we understand. I've talked about that a lot in these last 3 lessons because it is so true. We are ignorant to that which we do not understand yet. That knowingness was the perfect example for me in my life to go, oh, another way that I was ignorant to the gift that I was being given, being called a know-it-all. Taking it in the negative, which I'm sure it was intended at the time, but turning it into a positive. So we can only take what we can understand and embody. We are meant to embody this divine intelligence by the way that we live, the way that we show up. And so we have these words in Science of Mind, to become God. Now those words can be confusing unless you understand exactly what they mean. Because in the first place, you can't become God if God is all that is. You already are of that. So how can you become something you already are? But to become God, to open ourselves up to being receptive to the mentalities that allow us to live in this human experience peacefully, loving. Holmes says that the phrase to become God is not meant to be taken literally. It is meant to be taken figuratively. Because, in fact, we cannot really become God, but we can and do partake of the divine nature. And the universe does personify itself through us. Take a breath. That's an awesome gift, an awesome task. And so, what does it mean that it personifies through us? It means that all the divine qualities that God is, the wisdom, the wholeness, the love, the perfection, the life, the peace, all the ideas that God is, those are qualities that we want to live in our own lives.
So, what does it do? What does God do? Here's a funny saying that God, doesn't do anything. Now, I think the people down the street or another church may be saying, oh no, God's a know-it-all that doesn't do anything? Well, God is a divine being, not a divine doer. Emerson says, it is only the finite that is wrought and suffered. The infinite lies stretched in smiling repose. As a being, the nature of God is energy. And because God is all that is, even our materialistic environment is energy. And matter is energy held in place by consciousness. At its fundamental level, all matter, all that is energy. And at its fundamental nature, all is therefore consciousness. All that is in a state of being is held in that state by consciousness, because being is consciousness. So the idea that God doesn't do anything kind of makes more sense. God is the essence of all that is. God is the infinite realm of possibility, available and willing to be waiting to be acted upon by consciousness through the action of law. God doesn't do to us or for us. God does through us as an operation of law. We are the doers operating with the divine. The law can only work for us by working through us, and it only works according to how we use it. That was the basic message behind the Jesus story. In fact, it was the entire purpose for Jesus, a divine entity being incarnated into human form. Jesus was the great example of how God is expressing into the world through and as us. That's why we say Jesus was the great example, not the great exception. All his teachings were about how to be our spiritual selves and how to work with God to manifest our highest best. Jesus was a prototype for us. What he was saying was not any different from what Buddha was saying, or Muhammad, or Zarathustra, or Lao Tzu, or any other spiritual leader. If you really want to know what God does, look around your environment at all the ways your thoughts have manifested. And understand how all these things have flowed through you. If you've been in this teaching very long, that should be relatively easy to do.
And still we're learning, right? Still we're learning. So you were given a pink piece of paper today, and I invite you to take that and to think upon an idea that you are stepping into, something you desire. We have read this before, and we will read it again. There is power in the race consciousness. Ready? I shall keep the promise that I have made to myself. I shall never again tell myself that I am poor, sick, weak, or unhappy. I shall not lie to myself anymore, but shall daily speak the truth to my inner soul, telling it that it is wonderful and marvelous, and that it is one with the great cause of all life, truth, power, and action. I shall whisper these things into my soul until it breaks forth into songs of joy, with the realization of its limitless possibilities. Well, I gave those out last week, and some of us use them regularly to move us, ourselves. I want to talk now about one specific part in that prayer, poem, treatment, and it's the idea of power. So that one sentence that is underlined can have an I am in front of it to make it more powerful and become an affirmation for life. I am one with the great cause of all life, truth, power, and action. What it does, it acts as a power. And so I want to talk a little bit now about the idea of negativity of power. We hear words such as power struggle, feeling powerless. Probably every one of us has at some point in our life felt powerless. Maybe we still do have moments where we feel powerless. It can sometimes be because we feel that someone else or some situation has the power to control us. We hear of power hungry, exerting control or authority over others. Then we also can think of power as strength, as being strong. When we think about something like a baseball player coming up to bat and they say, oh, he's a power hitter. Also thought of as strong, strong-willed, stubborn. Negative connotations of power, such as repression, force, coercion, discrimination, corruption, abuse. These can all be seen as a win-lose kind of relationship. And if we're truly stepping into our power, we're not looking to engage in a win-lose relationship. We are looking to step into a loving, all-knowing, wise, peaceful life experience through all of our relationships with ourselves and others. The ideas that I listed are uses of power that are destructive, and we look to be constructive. So power, according to the dictionary definition, is the ability to act or produce an effect. The ability to produce an effect, a result, a demonstration. We talk about that idea a lot in Science of Mind. Power, according to Ernest Holmes' definition, is the energy by which everything lives. We are that power. That power is that spirit of the living God that David so beautifully sang about this morning. That is our power. And the use of the universal law of mind is our power. Interestingly, the word power is one of the words that is found in the top two tiers of our symbol. God being all that is, and God as spirit as the top, the middle part, the law, and the bottom part, the body of God. And so in the top part of God, we find power as will or choice. will or choice. Kathy talked about that this morning, and so did Frank. And in the middle part, we find power as action. Power as action. The law of action. Ernest Holmes writes, it can become power to us only when we recognize it as power. Recognizing it as the energy by which everything lives. That within us that is our power. That place within us from where we speak, from where we make decisions and take action in our own lives. And it has a lot to do with where we are in our invitation to be receptive to the mentality that creates that of our desires. That is what it does. Holmes writes, the mechanical laws of nature are set and immutable, but the spontaneous recognition of these laws gives us the power to bring them into practical use in everyday life and experience. Whatever is demonstrating around us and in us, we are able to change through this peaceful power. Our power is the use of the law, as well as the understanding of the law with which we are using. Holmes tells us in this section not to overlook the significant fact that it is the mind, our individual mind within the one mind, which discovers and makes use of the mechanical law. That as we enter into that state of consciousness, as we enter into one state of consciousness, we are able to provide a result. And if we choose a different state of consciousness, we are able to create a different manifestation. Each of us and each of these ideas taps into the same law. They each activate the same mind of spirit, yet they each draw forth a different result. A result based on the original idea held in personal consciousness.
Ernest Holmes says, here and now we are surrounded by and immersed in an infinite good. He also says in this chapter that we are surrounded by an infinite possibility. Both of those things basically saying that we are one with the source energy of the universe and we have access to it. He asks these questions. How much of this infinite good is ours? All of it. And how much of it may we have to use? As much of it as we can embody. We hold a thought, and that thought opens a channel to infinite universal intelligence. Our state of thoughtfulness opens our mind to divine influence. And the extent to which we are amiable to new ideas determines the rate of influx from divine intelligence, allowing new possibilities to enter our train of thought. Here's an example I was thinking about this week. I was texting recently and I noticed my phone kept offering possibilities to the end of my sentences. I often get annoyed at my phone thinking it has any idea what's on my mind. And I wish my phone would mind its own business and stop trying to have the last word. I don't like or trust artificial intelligence. I don't like it to speak for me. And rest assured, I will never use AI to write a sermon for me, although we get those programs offered to us quite often on emails and so on. I believe it's a crutch that eliminates creative thinking and will eventually dumb down our emotional and intellectual capabilities. And by the way, I have believed this about artificial intelligence for a long time before it became a popular political talking point, so please don't think I'm talking about politics here, because I'm not. The thing is that I don't really trust artificial intelligence, but on the other hand, I explicitly trust universal intelligence working through me, and I'm excitedly open to the divine ideas flowing in and through me. Artificial intelligence comes from the world around us. It's pre-existing possibilities that are channeled back to us. So, artificial intelligence is an effect. Universal intelligence comes from within. Possibilities that may or may not have occurred before, but it's causative. So I believe that what we need is less AI and more UI. We need to expand our capabilities by expanding our imaginative horizons. We need to practice thinking beyond our limits, opening ourselves to divine influx. By doing so, we expand our personal capabilities beyond our personal parameters into the universal realm of infinite possibility.
I like that you are intelligence.
I like that too, thank you.
You're very creative. Ernest Holmes wrote, "Faith in a certain specific statement has power consciously to oppose, neutralize, erase, or obliterate the opposite mental attitude." Now, until we practice affirmations, until they demonstrate, we may at first find that difficult. And when we come upon a new situation that we wish to change, that we realize, oh, rats, I've had this for like 50 years and I just realized it, we may have to be more adamant with our affirmations so that we can neutralize them or erase them or obliterate them, whatever you choose to do with your personal power. When we look at our mental receptivity to this process, we're looking at degrees. So let's look at some of the words that we use. Thought and faith, prayer, hope, and appreciation. All of those are definite, they're specific, and they accomplish their desire. However, an affirmation of faith is quicker to realize than an affirmation of hope. And at the same time, we have to begin wherever we are. If that little voice in our head is saying, when I'm saying, I am such and such, and the power is going, the voice inside is saying, no, you're not. We have to stick with it until we grow from our hope to our faith, into our trust, into the truth. And we see it demonstrate. Once we see it demonstrate, that's an aha moment, because the next time it's a little easier and a little easier. So when we think, something is happening to our thought. When we think, we set the law in motion. And the divine consciousness or energy or power responds to us. And that's what it does. So let's pick up those little papers again. And let's share and let's grow the race consciousness right here, so that it moves out not only within us and our lives personally, but out into the world as a race consciousness that reflects and illumines around the world, like the experience that the gentleman in Frank's story had, that heavenly illumined experience. Together, I shall keep the promise that I have made to myself. I shall never again tell myself that I am poor, sick, weak, or unhappy. I shall not lie to myself anymore, but shall daily speak the truth to my inner soul, telling it that that is wonderful and marvelous, and that it is one with the great cause of all life, truth, power, and action. I shall whisper these things into my soul until it breaks forth into songs of joy with the realization of its limitless possibilities. And so it is.